Curious Dude here with an update on Van Gogh. I'm going to share with you today how to break down your M plate, your data plate on your bay window Volkswagen, and I'll use this bus as an example to show you how to decode it and some tips and tricks on how I did it. All right, okay, the first thing you need to know is where is the data plate actually located, and on later bay window buses, it's located behind the driver's seat, and it's really easy to find. Just look behind. You might have to move your seat forward like I did. And right in here is the data plate. And it has 4 rows of data in this bus. And I'll copy this down and take it over, and we'll work off of a different space to look through the codes. But you also notice that here's the tag for the color, L20B, which is the brilliant orange. But the 4 lines, the top lines are going to be familiar. I'll show you how that corresponds to the vehicle. And the bottom. And the 2 lines in the middle really deal with the M options codes that are what people really look for when you're wanting to know what options your bus came with. So let's move to the workbench and decode this. So here I've just copied down the data plate to the yellow pad. It's a lot easier to read, and I'll break it down for you. So the first line deals with your serial number for your vehicle or your vehicle identification number. So that's what these digits all relate to. The first 2 digits are a year code. So in this case, 42 actually means 1974. And there's 2 digits that would normally go ahead of this, and those are what designate it to actually be a camper van. So that would be 23 is the serial. So 2 means type 2, which means bus, and 3 means a combi or a van with windows. So that's all that and that'll actually match your VIN plate as well. The bottom line also is related to the construction of the vehicle. So 091, the first 3, this is the actual scheduled production date, and the 09 deals with weeks beginning in the first of the production year in 74. So 9 weeks after, January 1st, 1974, which would put it like almost the last week in February, and 1 means the day of the week. So this was scheduled to be produced on the 9th week after the new year on the first day, which actually coincides. If you look it up in a calendar, it's Monday, February 25th, 1974. The next 4 digits is just a production number, so that would relate to the factory, likely was coded in some way to the computer system to maintain which vehicle this was connected to. KN's the country code, so KN is Canada, and it also means that the port was St. John's, New Brunswick. These digits here, 2319, these relate to what type of vehicle it is. So 2319 would tell us that it is a left-hand sliding door combi, or camper. And 41 is the body and engine gear combo. So 41, if you look it up on an M plate decoder, would tell you that it is a 1974 manual transmission. And in this case, it would come with an 1800 engine. All right, like I said, first line is really your VIN serial number. The bottom line tells you a lot about the make model, some production details, internal information, where it originally came from. The M codes that people are interested in are really these 2 in the middle, and they all correspond to specific information. So we'll kind of start from the beginning. So 119 is the code for a heater and fresh air system, or 119 is a heater system. So this bus would have come with a heater that I'll show you a little bit about here in a moment. 121 means fresh air, meaning that it has a fresh air system built into the vehicle. 586 means that this vehicle came with a folding spare tire instead of a regular spare, and it also came with a 12-volt air compressor and a 12-volt connection on the dash, which I'll show you now too. All right, remember I talked about it came with a collapsible spare. So that means that it came with this handy Volkswagen / Coleman tire inflator that there's a cord in here that actually plugs into the dash. There's a port here under the glove box, and that's hot 12 volt you could plug into, and then you could use this to inflate your collapsible spare. Okay, so this third line is important, as this first section tells us about the color, and it also tells us about the interior finish. So 9226 is the code for the L20B Brilliant Orange, and 09 says it's basically cloth camping interior, which is why we get that crazy plaid orange color. So all those deal with the color and with the interior finish. D58 is a code that states its Canadian specs, which I'll break down in a moment because it has its own subsection. P27 is what tells us it's actually a Campmobile. You could have two options in 74. You could have a P26, which is a standard Campmobile. P27 is the deluxe Campmobile. And the 073 actually tells us it's a pop-up. So if that wasn't there, it would just tell us that it was a deluxe camper without the pop-top. And 067 actually tells us that it came with a slightly bigger battery. I think it came with a 54 amp hour battery instead of just the standard 45 amp battery. So let's look at D58 and break that down, because there's actually a whole bunch of codes that go underneath this that don't show up on the M plate. Okay, so there's quite a lot to D58 to break down, but the speedo is in miles, code 68. It has 2 front tow hooks. 85, it actually would have had twice the amount of petrol, I believe, from factory in order to help it moving it around, because it was going to be shipped to different locations across Canada. 89, laminated windscreen. 102, rear defogger. 113, just as the admittance to Canada plate. 161 means the seats in the cabin had headrest mounts, which I didn't install when I restored my seats. 172, tubeless steel radials, 185 series. 181's chrome hubcaps and rear view mirror. 185, seat belts for all seats in the interior. 206, inner rear view mirror. 506 is a brake servo, but it has a warning light that's actually right in the dash. If you're losing brake pressure, it'll tell you that there's a problem with your brakes. 507, vent wings in the cabin doors. 511's padded in instrument panel. 524, sealed beam headlamps, backup lights, and side marker lights. So that's all to do with just that one code. So again, all those codes fit under D58 as a Canadian spec. So here's where the heater would have sat, right in this area here. I have the heater, but I won't be reinstalling it. And that black cover is covering the ducting that goes inside, where you'd actually get the heat to come from. So if you look down there, that hole on the base of the bench is actually where the heat would be pushed out if you had turned the heater on. It has rear window defogger. And what were some of the other unique Canadian things? We talked about that already. I think we mentioned the chrome mirrors, the chrome hubcaps, and the tow hooks. Right there you can see 1 and 2 bright orange tow hooks that were part of an option that came with. Interestingly enough, I always thought that the front full mount spare was actually a factory install thing. Turns out it wasn't. So this bus, because I know I have pictures of it from a week old, must have had that added at the dealership, but it's been on ever since. So there you go. That's a quick decode of the M plate on Van Gogh. And I used 2 websites pretty much exclusively to decode all this. That's type2.com. I'll put it down below here. And I also used vw-mplate.com. It actually has a decoder, so you can put all the information that I just shared with you from my M plate right in online, and it'll do breakdown for you. And it's even in print-friendly format, so you can have it and have it as a good keepsake to store with your bus. Thanks a lot for watching.